Our theme for the month is Vision 2020, Clear Focus. And whenever we think about the idea of having 2020 vision, we talk about that as being the standard by which we see and view things and being clear and focused upon that. And as I thought about the fact that we were coming into the year 2020 and just playing on the idea, and I'm not the only one who thought of that because I've seen all over people talking about 2020 vision and the year 2020 and clear vision and clear focus and all of those things. But I think that it's important that as we move into this new year, we take a moment to talk about what it means to have vision and what it means to have a clear focus. Because so often in our day-to-day lives, we can get in the habit of just simply going through life. Things just simply happening, and rather than really being intentional about the lives that we live, responding or really more reacting to the things that are going on. And of course, we are in a time right now in our country and in our world. I've been looking with a bit of sadness and really mixed feelings in myself as I look at pictures, people that are posting on social media of some of our troops that are being called up and deployed to go over into the Middle East again with the conflict that we find ourselves in. And in the midst of all of these kinds of things that are going on in our life, in our environment, we have to be focused. We have to be clear to allow ourselves to contribute to the situation in a positive way. Because I happen truly to believe I'm still an optimist. In fact, my blood type is B positive. And I still believe that when we come together and set an intention for uplifting the world in which we are in, the community in which we are in, we make a contribution to the things that are happening in a positive way. But the way that we are able to do that is that we set our own vision. We become clear about that. So I think that there are some things that are important to do when we talk about vision, because if you think about all of our lives, the things that are reflected in our life are in some ways influenced and affected by the vision that we've had for our lives. So I think one of the things that comes to me very often is learning how important it is to get out of our head. To get out of our head. I remember writing one time about how I had gone out to Shelby Farms and I was walking around Shelby Farms, and it was one of those spring days when it was just beautiful outside, and there were animals that were out, there was the grass, there were the trees, there were things that were budding, but I was so caught up in my head, worried about the problems that I thought that I had and about things that were going on, that I was missing out on the things that were there. I was not focused on my surroundings and my environment, but rather I was caught up in my head. And that can happen for us. We can be in situations or circumstances where we stay here and we get so caught up here that we miss the things that are around us. And when we meet people, we encounter people, and oftentimes, you know, maybe nobody in this room does this, but when you're in a conversation with a person and you find yourself, or I'll say, I won't put it on you, I'll put it on me, I find myself, rather than truly listening to the person, I'm there figuring out what story am I going to tell to match their story. I'm listening sometimes to what they're telling me, trying to figure out what's going to be my advice or my solution for them, rather than simply being and allowing that person to express themselves and to talk and to share. Because very often when people come to us, and I believe this about everyone, when we're engaged with other people and people are talking with us, people already have the solution within. They already know. Now, a lot of times they may not be able to get to it right then, but when we can actively listen, when we can actively stay in the moment and get out of our heads and just be with that person, then the solution comes up. And when I find myself actively practicing that, I have people that will start telling me, well, just like you said, or like you say it. I didn't say a thing. They were the ones that said it. But by listening, because listening is an act of love. And so when we listen, when we get out of our head, it allows us to then to be able to see things clearly. So when I was walking through that park, I was in my head so much that I was missing all of the things that were around me. Fortunately, by the time I was getting to the end of my walk, I was able finally to say, I'm in this beautiful space, this beautiful environment. Maybe it's time for me to shut off the things that are happening here. Tell my mind it's never going to completely stop, but tell it to quiet down and let me just take in and appreciate the things that are around me. The second thing I think that we can do that helps to develop and clarify our vision and the things that are happening so that we begin to have a clearer focus is to start to do a few things out of the ordinary. If you drive a certain route home every day, take a different route. You might say, well, but you will discover that there are things that you haven't seen before or paid attention to till you take that different route. Or if you're the person that's always driving, maybe put yourself in a situation to have someone else drive that particular time, that particular day, that particular route. And then realize how many things that you never noticed that were there before because your eyes have been on the road, your concentration has been on the road. But when you can sit and relax and not be a backseat driver, you can really see and appreciate the surroundings that are there. But it helps to focus and it helps to cultivate the vision and the ability to envision that we have when we do those things, when we do things differently. If we always get up and we always do a certain routine and follow a certain routine, maybe a particular day we decide to do something else. And it takes us out of our being caught up in a groove so that we are in that groove and that's all we see and that's all we know, and begin seeing and expanding and opening ourselves to other things. And that's the third thing I want to say. Begin expanding ourselves and becoming open and available to other things, to other people, to other environments, to other ways, but expanding our vision. If we always do what we always did, we'll always get what we always got. Mom's Mabley, for those of you that are old enough to remember who she was. But she used to say that. But it's important, if we're always doing things the same way, we'll continue to get the same results. But when we expand ourselves, when we open ourselves, when we increase our vision, when we begin to see and to know that with the vision that we start to expand, that new things can begin to happen. And sometimes in the midst of that, begin to cast the vision in such a way that we recognize that we may not even see the full fruition of the vision that we put in place. I remember when I was growing up and my father and my sister, I remember they were doing something one day. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I know that when my sister we got home from school, my father came home early, and he and my sister got in the car and they went off somewhere. And when they came back, I noticed they were outside in our yard in a particular place, and what they were doing was my sister's class had a project where they were selling small trees. And so they had one that my sister and my father had gotten the shovel out and dug a hole in the ground and watered it and put the tree down and all of that. And my sister was excited about the tree. And then my sister would go out there every day for that week and she would water the tree. And then probably the 6th or 7th day, she came inside and she was frustrated. And I remember my parents asking her, why was she frustrated? She said, well, my tree's not really growing. It's not doing much. It's still small. It's not like the other trees. And I remember my father and mother telling her, it's going to take a long time. That keep watering it, keep nurturing it, but you may not be able to see the full fruition and the full height and the full maturity of the tree. But don't stop watering and nurturing and taking care of. And one of the big benefits that we had was that years later, when we were able to go back to our hometown and to drive by the house where we used to live, and saw now the tree had grown to the height. It was a full mature tree. But that was years and years and years. And very often the things that we do, the things that we say to a person, maybe a kind word, maybe correcting a person when they find themselves trying to find their way, or maybe the things that we do that seem little and almost seemingly insignificant, that when we cast a vision for it, when we recognize that something can come of it, and we may not see the full manifestation of it, don't stop. Don't stop nurturing your dreams. Don't stop having a vision for your life. I think about, we're talking about the fact that we'll be celebrating Open Hearts anniversary next week. We started in 2002 with a few people in a room over there, First Congregational Church. I started it. There were times when I wanted to give up. There were times when I didn't think that anything would necessarily come of the things that the few of us that gathered together and were vision casting and visioning for would get to the point where it is. But one of the things that I've been able to appreciate, and I'm not taking credit for it because I know that it's Spirit moving in, through, and as us, are the people who have been healed and uplifted, and people that have grown, and people who have found themselves celebrated, and to know that they're loved, and to know that they're nurtured, and to know all of the many things that go into making up this wonderful community, this wonderful space. And over the years, we've seen a number of people come and go. And that used to bother me when we first started, that here were some people that were here that were faithful, and then we didn't see them anymore. Until one day, one of my colleagues helped me to understand the fact that people grow. And he said the type of place that you are creating with Open Heart is a place that helps people to begin to think and to do for themselves, to be able to nurture themselves and to become powerful in their own right and in their own way. And there'll be some people that will continue to come for the fellowship and for all of the things that are part of Open Heart. And there are other people that will go on their way, but no matter what, whether they come one time or come many times, there will always be a part of Open Heart that's with them. And so I know that today now. I'm able to know that the vision that back in 2001 that led up to the first service and the first workshop and all that we had in 2002, that continues to go and to grow. And you all that are here today, what wonderful people you are, and what wonderful place and space we are in. But when we cast our vision and we remain steadfast to our vision, when we, as I started out today, talking about when we get up in the morning, setting our intention for the day, knowing that this is the day that Spirit has made, that Spirit has created, that God has made it, the Lord has made it, the universe has made it, whatever description, however it is we term it, that it is a wonderful opportunity to employ all of the gifts and graces and resources and everything we have into this particular day, and to do whatever it is that we need to do to make this day a special and powerful day. I used to end all of my letters way back then. That tells you how long ago. I didn't say email, I said letters. I used to end my letters to say, full of promise, potential, and possibility. Because that's what I believe about each day. That each day is a day full of promise, potential, and possibility. Don't know what's going to happen during the day. Don't know what the day may hold for you. But when you are focused that this is a powerful day for me to express who I am and to allow that to come forth, then it becomes truly a magnificent day wonderful day, a powerful day, a vision-filled day with clear focus. And so it is.